On October 12, 2022, Nuri Martinez resigned from the Los Angeles City Council. This came a few days after the world heard Nuri and other elected members of the council speak disparagingly about black people, indigenous people, and others.
This white guy with this little black kid bouncing off the effing walls on the floor. There's nothing you can
And what participants believed was a private conversation. Racism, colorism, homophobia, and bigotry were exposed like never before. The effort to undermine the political influence of black fellow citizens was specifically targeted by these so-called leaders. Everyday people stormed the doors of City Hall demanding immediate resignations. Even the President of the United States called for resignations. On Thursday, October 12th, 5 to 7 p.m., KBLA Talk 1580 will host a day of dialogue on the anatomy of anti-black racism and bigotry in Los Angeles with an all-star panel of civic leaders. Don't miss this conversation. Thursday, October 12th, live from 5 to 7 p.m. with an encore performance from 7 to 9 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Trophy. I just wanna take you out and show you off. You already know that you the perfect one. Girl, when I'm with you, feel like a champion. Ever since I got with you, I feel like I done won me a trophy. A trophy. I want me a trophy. I want a trophy. I just wanna take you out and show you off. You already know that you're the perfect one. Girl, when I'm with you, feel like a champion. Ever since I got with you, I feel like I done won me a trophy. Hey. Trophy. I want me a trophy. A trophy. I want me a trophy. Trophy. I want me a trophy. A trophy. Hey. Get the on the dresser just to make that better. Gotta put you in that bitches, now you rockin' Perry-Ellis, then I leave with you. Only cause I believe in you.
Shout out to Future Hendrix. You are locked in to hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You know, this is the show where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. And we're going to dig deep in our hip-hop bag in hour 2 for a couple of topics. So listen, you know, Future, we've talked about this before in our conversations surrounding hip-hop. This isn't a Future-specific comment, but just in general, how one of the reasons why I believe we are seeing a lessening of R&B is because the emotional aspect of R&B has been picked up by rappers in their music, right? Future talking about he wants a trophy, things of that nature. Drake would be melodramatic in his feelings. It felt like vulnerability when it first came out.
Correction.
Yes.
He feels like he won a trophy. Not that he wants a trophy, but that he won a trophy.
All right.
Boom.
But is there that much of a difference really in the sentiment?
Yeah, it's a difference. Because it's one thing to want a trophy, right?
But you got it.
You know what I'm saying? But like the way you make me feel as if like I won a trophy.
Right.
It's different.
So, but I feel like, okay. All right.
Because you
want is different than what you already possess.
Boom.
Okay. All right, we'll take that.
And then also,
yes,
I see the hip hop aspect though, that the love or whatever is going to hip hop, but also it's indicative of just society today, right? I feel like we've talked about it several times. Ain't none of us, I'm gonna speak for the dudes, ain't none of us really trying to, woo you and court you and serenade. Man, we're going straight to the point. Let's get in the bed.
So let me ask you this, right? Because I feel like age-old question, something that, women have always grappled with, right? gotta hold on, keep your legs closed, hold on, because that's all they want. And once they get that, they're gonna move around, right? So what happens in an era? But I also am of the belief, like just how you said Future felt like he's won a trophy and how she made him feel and so forth. I am also of the belief that, yeah, you want to be in these streets, but at the same time, everybody wants to feel like they have an anchor, or that there is someone that understands them to the core, is going to accept them in, some other form or fashion. So, and I'm not asking this as seriously as it may sound. I just want people to be clear. But if that is the goal, right, but the goal is also to smash as many women as possible, is it just, oops, I slipped up and fell in love? Or do you know on your quest, hey, this is a potential wifey boo. This is for the night. Like, and do you ever get slipped up and mixed up with the two switching roles?
I can't speak for all men,
of course,
but I think it's all of that, right? There's a feeling to want to have sex with all the girls in the world, right? But let me just speak for myself. It would be naive of me to think that I also don't want love, in the sense that, I'm not going to get from having sex with girls all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you always hear the term bottom B, main one. Mm-hmm. I mean, we want that.
Right.
We don't necessarily push for it a lot of the times.
It just evolves. You wake up one day like, boom, that's my favorite.
Exactly. I think in the midst of us wanting to have sex with multiple women, we are still looking for that main one. But even in the process of us looking for that main one, I think it's like in our primal nature to want to just wild out. I mean,
Sample. The world's buffet. Take your pick. So listen, as I mentioned, ATL Jacob is a producer. He's 24. I think he has a new song coming out with Nicki Minaj. He's worked with Future. And so there was conversation going around about Tupac. Yay. I don't know how Future got in the mix. Oh, I do know how Future got into the mix, because someone was asking, hey, you guys are asking Drake to grow up, but nobody is talking to Future and his toxic masculinity within his music. But I think the expectation is different. One, Future hasn't been around as long as Drake. Drake is on his 11th album. Future is on his, I know we have a lot of mixtapes that we got to include in the mix, but still, different time frame, different career center. And I also think that Future is not the superstar that Drake is. And so I don't think people have the same expectations of him and where he should be going that they do as far as, Drake. But ATL Jacob didn't give a reason why he felt that. He said that Tupac was a good rapper, but that he felt Ye and Future were more influential. And I was like, is he taking that because, first of all, I don't know, Future and Pac, I don't know. He called Pac a lyricist. I don't know if I would do that. And I love Pac down, but I don't know if that's the description that I would use. I would use maybe storyteller. Pac is a motivator. He brings a lot of passion with his delivery, but I wouldn't call him a lyricist.
He's more of a lyricist than Future in that
100%.
And I'll call him a poet.
Okay, 100%, definitely that. But is it because Future and Kanye are producers? And
Future ain't no producer. Does he?
Doesn't he kind of claim to be in there?
I've never heard him
Maybe
say
I'm
anything.
wrong. Okay,
yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Not like
J. Cole, yes.
Okay. I thought Future kind of proclaimed to kind of like Drake getting there and,
I'm going to do some research just to verify. But I've never heard him tout that, I make beats or I'm a producer or anything like that. Maybe an executive producer on projects.
I said producer for a reason.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I thought I remembered hearing that like early. Because no, he's writer. Just a writer. Is it just a writer? Maybe that's what we want to consider it. Because didn't he write "Love" for Rihanna and some other stuff? I think.
I'm gonna do some research then. Maybe I'm sleeping on Future then.
Him
wrote "Love" for Keisha Cole.
Not for Keisha Cole, for
tripping.
Rihanna.
My bad,
Rihanna. Yeah.
Oh, sex. My bad. How does that?
Love song. Love.
That's because he's on the song.
Right.
He's
but
featured.
I thought he's featured, but I thought and again, I might be jacking this up. That's like 13 years ago. I thought that he either wrote or produced that, and that was the combination. Again, I could be wrong. I honestly feel like that was the first song that I was conscious. So no, he did. Yeah, he's listed as a producer on it. He is listed as a producer. Him, Looney Tunes, and Max Manny. I don't know who either of those other two people are, but yeah, he's co-wrote and music produced by and Future. So I don't know, but my point is, one, obviously this guy is 24, so Tupac has never been relevant in his life.
Exactly.
Tupac had been dead for 2 years prior. But the fact that Tupac has been dead for 27 years and we are still talking about him.
Boom.
There are still documentaries being made about him. There's still even a conversation to be had with anyone as to who is more relevant. I think it's kind of silly to compare eras. I don't like that we're so into that now, because realistically, how can you really compare some of these things? Just like we were speaking about last night, that it's likely that Drake is going to surpass Michael Jackson for the most number ones on the Hot Billboard 100, or whatever the chart or configuration of that is. I'm going to start my laptop, y'all. That would have been bad. I think it's unfair. It's not a real conversation because, and again, things have to change. You can't keep things preserved in some type of crystal ball or whatever. But Michael Jackson in 25 years, 5 albums. Drake in the last, 13 years, 11. So
yeah, but all them 11 don't hold any weight to Michael Jackson's 5. So is it about quality or is it about quantity?
Exactly, I think, but in this era where we are, and we talked about this, how it's about, we don't want you to forget about us. There are so many distractions. There's so many things that can take your attention away. Artists are hard pressed to keep it a go. And we also talked about, what is the thing? People give albums a one-time listen, and that's about it.
You talking about me?
I'm talking about not just you, a lot of people. I've talked to a bunch of friends like that. Fahima says, yeah, it sounds like Wilt Chamberlain. Is that a West Coast thing? What sounds like Wilt Chamberlain? What are we talking about, Fahima? I don't know. I'm not sure. Wilt Chamberlain, I think 30,000 people and a very interesting architecture for a home. That's what I think about when I think about Wilt. Of course, basketball. But if you had to rank those 3, Future, Ye, Pac, would you, and what would the order be?
It's easy. Pac 1, Kanye 2, Future 3.
Right. Do you think, when's the last time Future had a project out? About a year and a half ago?
Probably a couple months, to be honest with you.
I feel
really
like Future is falling off really, really badly. I feel like there was a heyday for him, and now I just feel like, I don't know.
I'm going to say no.
You say no?
I don't think he fell off, only because my boy talks about Future all the time. So I think it's just one of those situations where you got to be.
But are his fans
in.
like, is he like the male beehive? Like, are his fans like Beyonce fans? And I'm being serious. Like, I'm being facetious, but I'm being serious. He has a dedicated fan base. They seem really passionate.
He has a dedicated fan base, but I wouldn't call him like the Beehive or anything like that. But whoever this individual is, you said he's 24?
He's 24. He's a producer. He produced some new song Nicki Minaj has coming out. He's produced a couple other things. He has worked with Future, but
I hate to say it, like, I understand what he's saying because these youngsters do rock with Future. I hear them talk about Future a lot. These youngsters are the one who put me up on Future, years ago. So, yeah, I get it. I get this generation rocking with Future.
I mean, I don't think that they should not rock with him, but I guess I wonder what is the rush to replace Pac or to be that one?
Because when we talk about who's the greatest of all time, Pac's name always comes up. And I think this young generation right now, like you said, they didn't really grow up with Pac. So when they hear Pac's name all the time, they're like, Pac, man, Future is more popping than Pac. So that's what it is. But our generation, trust me, we
are on the board. Because I also think it's interesting that, like, obviously Biggie's name gets brought up and we have the thing, but nowhere near in the same way as Pac. And I always think that's interesting because their careers are so closely tied together. I just wonder, how come it seems that Biggie, he does. I'm not trying to say that, but, and again, this isn't just my West Coast bias or whatever. I loved Biggie too, but I just wonder why it seems like the way that Pac is spoken about and the reverence for him is so different.
Because Pac was more than rap with Pac. You know what I'm saying? Pac
was the Black Panther Party.
Yeah,
it was
man.
What he believed in,
Absolutely.
how he spoke out for black people. Biggie, I mean, I always used to say Biggie rocked my party, Pac touched the soul.
That's what that is. Point blank, period. That's the reason why I got Pac as number one. Biggie was definitely more lyrical than Tupac.
Facts.
But, like, when you talk about that passion, you feel him because he wasn't talking about just, what rapper back then and even now is coming out with a record called Brenda's Got a Baby or Dear Mama? He's tugging on people's emotional heartstrings.
Okay, to be fair, right? He was, and it was very different. But then I think about stuff like, what is that song, Ed and the OGs? So there was Cheryl Pepsi Riley, Thanks for My Child, and Ed and the OGs, something about being a father. And I just remember the video was a guy, and he was taking off down the street running, and it was him running away from his responsibilities and stuff like that. Because
who?
Ed OG and the Bulldogs.
Exactly.
You're like, yo, who? I just know random rap facts. I watched Rap City back in the day.
But
they played that video heavily.
Whoever these individuals are just didn't have any type of clout that Pac did.
But I don't know why people aren't saying, I'm sure somewhere they do, like, man, he better than Biggie. Biggie, I don't know. I don't get that same type of argument in the ethos when we're talking about this type of stuff. And I want to know why. I just wonder why.
Between Future and Pac or Biggie?
Just in general, though, just whenever these things come up about, the king of hip hop or who influential or da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Again, I'm not saying they don't mention Biggie's name, but it always seems to come down to whomever's current and Pac.
Yeah, like I said, because I think there's a general consensus of Pac being number one, considering, his subject matter and all of that, right? So because of people like us, when we speak to our youth or whatnot, we always bring Pac's name in high regards. So of course they're gonna think different. They're gonna think of who the hottest rapper is for them. And I guess it just so happens to be Future for them. So it's gonna be Future versus Pac.
Shout out to Fahima in the chat. She says, Jill, Andy is correct. Drake couldn't pass MJ on the highway. I mean, we know that, but the fact remains that statistically, he's about to do it. And it doesn't mean much, but statistically, he's about to do it.
And you know what? We got to talk about statistics and how statistics can be skewed.
They can be.
You know what I mean? Especially in the streaming era. Because I'm assuming that they're also counting streaming downloads as opposed to going to the store to go buy a physical copy. So the statistics could be skewed a little bit.
Shout out to forensic accountant and Aubrey Sinclair in the chat. They know who Ed O.G. and the Bulldogs were. Be a father to your child. That's the name of the song that I was talking about. It was there. And Aubrey also brings up Public Enemy and Rakim. He said, forensic accountant says Rakim and KRS-One are ahead of Pac on my list. I can visualize your age, and I understood why you say that.
Absolutely.
And I take that from a lyrical, a concept, a song perspective, and I'm not even mad about that or hating on that because, again, I love Pac down, but I will also say Hennessy and enemies like everybody else because, you know, there was a certain cadence, there were certain jokes, there were certain things that he did. But I also keep in mind Pac was only 25 when he passed away.
Man,
so
talk about it.
Have no idea what he would have been like at 30, at 28.
Also, outside of the music, Tupac being the actor
in
Juice, Above the Rim, Bulletproof or something like that. And then the other one where he I'm not even gonna count those. You talking about like in '97 when he passed away? Yeah.
Gridlocked. That's it. That's the other one.
And that was it, huh? It was only 3 movies. It was 4
he did
movies.
4. He was cast in a bunch of other stuff. Remember, he was originally cast in Menace to Society to play the role that Vontae Sweet played, the Muslim brother.
Oh, well, get your salam alaikum.
Exactly. And get your salam alaikum. You got to move your hand like this when you do. Listen, I love Tyron down. Tyron used to go to elementary school with my cousin, like, known, you know, whatever, but that acting in Menace. When we come forward, we're going to get more into this hip-hop topic. We're also going to talk about the ladies and some revelations on that side. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Okay. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCEL scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Shout out to the chat. They are keeping us lit. They are keeping us on point. Truemonger says, the spirit and passion with Pac hit different. Future is trash, by the way. I'm not going to say Future is trash. I enjoyed some stuff. Dirty soda in the styrofoam. Listen, March Madness, forever classic. I don't care what anybody says. March Madness is a classic that I get up for whenever it comes on. You know, there's some other stuff. Urban Spinster said, had the searching sample right. Roy Ayers at forensic accountant Aubrey Sinclair. She's talking to them in chat about a sample from, I'm not sure what song. Rakim was a game changer in 87. And how he spit, you know, he was a conscious rapper that was still street in his analogies and so forth that he had. You know, it was early. He put it out there. The film that we forgot, and again, shout out to Truemonger, was Poetic Justice. How I could forget that, I don't know.
Forget about that.
Can I have here's a true confession about Poetic Justice, right? And I love that movie. I love John. I obviously love Janet. It had like all of my favorite things in it. You know, Regina was in my area.
Joe Torre.
I wouldn't count Joy as one of my favorite things, but he was entertaining. And I don't mean it like that. I'm just saying, like, you know, I love Janet. I love Pac. I love John Sing. You know, things like I love L.A. Joe, he cool. But when Poetic Justice came out, I didn't like it. Trash.
Oh my gosh, Jill,
and I love
what
John.
is wrong with you?
I didn't, from a film perspective, still, like, if we're being honest, I enjoy it for what it represents and the things it is, but I didn't think it was a good movie.
Still to this day?
Still to this day. I love it. I watch it. I'll stop and watch anything. $20.
No, 40.
Oh, $40. I'm going to fit my tiny little... Look, there are quotables all throughout. I love it. I love it. I love it. But I don't think that it's a good film.
I disagree. I think it was a great film.
You know, and I'm not mad at that. I feel that. I feel that.
Especially when Pac and Joe Torre got into that fight. I don't know why. It was just hilarious because Pac had a hat on that whole time. When they fought, the bald head, it was just hilarious. I don't know.
I mean, there are just some things that, again, like that make it a cult classic. But, you know, we'll have to see. Fahima says, don't forget Professor X of X-Clan, son of Sonny Carlson, both gone too soon. Listen, X-Clan... Letters to words to... I will go up on some X-Clan. Shout out to ISIS. But, you know, you can't really play some of their music anymore because it has inappropriate references that are not currently politically correct. I will say that. So that's it on X-Clan. When we come forward, we'll have more on this topic, more hip-hop, more of the comments in the chat because you guys are keeping us lit. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is up next.
You grew up on J-Lo, Timberlands by Manolo now. Till one day I put an angel in your ultrasound. I wanna dip that and go. I wanna dip that and go. I made it over NBA, NFL players. So every time I score, it's like the Super Bowl. Baby, we should hit the south of France. So you could run around without the pants. I put that glacier on your little hand. Now that's the only thing without a tan. My trophy on that bound bike I gave you.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments on a South Carolina redistricting issue this week. It's part of a legal battle over the redistricting of South Carolina's 1st Congressional District, which was redrawn in 2020. The new map splits Charleston County voters between the 1st and 6th Congressional Districts. Civil rights groups oppose the redrawing, alleging it is racial gerrymandering. A federal 3-judge panel previously ruled that the boundaries were intentionally manipulated to the disadvantage of black voters. A handful of Georgia Republicans are trying to start an investigation into Fulton County's district attorney. WXIA reports 8 GOP senators have submitted a complaint to the newly created Prosecuting Attorneys Qualification Commission, claiming Fonnie Willis, who is black, has been politically cherry-picking cases. Governor Brian Kemp previously said he's seen no evidence that the DA has engaged in any unethical or illegal behavior. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Escape with the best stories of the year on Audible. Hear celebrity memoirs, mysteries, true crime, sci-fi, and more. Ignite your imagination with audiobooks, podcasts, and originals. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Walk to Save Lives. Join the American Heart Association's Los Angeles Heart and Stroke Walk, Sunday, October 22nd at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Team up with friends and family and walk to end heart and stroke. Every step you take and every dollar raised will help save lives and make our community a healthier place for all. Learn more and sign up for free at heartwalkla.org. Sponsored by Optum, UCLA Health, Providence, Keck Medicine of USC, and Dignity Health.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for education as a right, not a privilege. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science is a private, non-profit, community-founded, student-centered university committed to cultivating diverse health profession leaders who are dedicated to social justice and health equity for underserved populations. CDU does this through outstanding education, clinical service, and community engagement. Recently, Charles Drew University made history by opening only the 5th medical school at an historically black university. Congratulations, South LA, and congratulations to the dean of the medical school, Dr. Deborah Protho-Stith. CDU is now training doctors and providing $90 million in annual economic benefit to Watts and surrounding neighborhoods. To apply for medical school, get more information, or sign your child up for the Junior Doctors Saturday School program, visit cdrewu.edu. That's cdrewu.edu. At KBLA, we are dedicated to equity in education and ending healthcare apartheid, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank. Any member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, yo, be a father.
Really?
Not why bother, son. A boy can make them, but a man can raise one. If you did it, admit it, and stick with it. Don't say it ain't yours.
See, Pete Rock produced it, right?
90% represent a woman that is faithful. Ladies, can I hear it? When a girl gets pregnant, her man is gonna run around. Dissing her for 9 months when it's born, he wants to come around. Talking at him.
See, it was there. It was in the music. People just forget. They think that hip hop is just, it went from conscious to gangster. No, there was a lot of in between, but again, we vote with what we listen to, what we buy, what we stream. So I don't know. I can't tell you another Ed, OG, and the Bulldogs song. I have no clue. I don't know what happened to them, but I remember that. And I don't even know if I can't remember if it was their video or Cheryl Pepsi Riley's video, but one of them had the guy, and he had on a denim shirt, some jeans, and he was in the wind back to the camera, running away from his responsibility. And the symbolism was just so wild. I remember cracking the heck up, but listen. So there's a conversation jumping off in the chat that I thought was interesting, and I believe it's Forensic Accountant that mentions Run DMC and how them being left out of the influential conversation is criminal. And I feel as though sometimes we forget, even as recent as it is, most of these kids don't know Rev Run. And if they did know Rev Run, they know Rev Run in the bathtub with the Blackberry. Oh, that's Angela and Vanessa and them's daddy. They don't know what Run DMC did as far as hip hop. I find it interesting that as much as people go back over the same scenes, films, and movies, especially when we're talking about the 90s, people don't go back and use Crush Groove as a reference for things or for jokes or for inspiration for anything like that. Like that movie, it came out in 85, I believe. The fact that Russell Simmons, and I know, we may be talking a little bit about Russell later. I don't know. We'll see if we get to it. But got a movie effectively about his life that early on in Def Jam's legacy is interesting. So, we will have to see. Fahima says, Jill, do you recall Burn, Baby Burn by Too Black, Too Strong? It had Fred Hampton and Chuck D on it. That sounds familiar. It does sound familiar. Forensic Accountant says the labels were white. Okay, here's the thing. Let me go ahead and put out my vintage stuff. I started working, I was an intern, and my first label in 92, 93, something like that. So what I will say is, though the labels were right, as hip-hop was making its way through, because at that time we still had the urban division was called Black Music Division, and then there were some complaints about if that was racist. This was also coming on the heels of us being changed from being called Black to African American. I think that happened around 87. So there were some debates about whether having a Black music department was appropriate, White kids were buying hip hop in the early 90s. We might have been setting the tone, but those white kids in Nebraska and stuff, they're the ones that kind of pushed it over to the edge. So I don't know. Aubrey Sinclair says, Ed OG and the Bulldogs, I Got to Have It was the first single released. Hey, I may vaguely remember that song, but I don't know. I remember Be a Father to Your Child. I don't know, that's why. But I do rock with the point of how influential Run DMC was. Obviously the first rap group to chart and all of those things. We know what they did with the tour. We know what they did with Adidas and things of that nature. And I also saw someone mention LL in here. And I think LL is important. And I think because, and maybe we'll start to see that now, because he did perform on the Hip Hop Awards, I believe, tonight. And he did do a tour this summer with Rock the Bells. But LL was important. One, he was in Crush Groove. He was 16 in that. And his whole scene was amazing. But when he came in and he was like, box! And he just bust the groove. And Andre Harrell was in that scene when they were still Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and all of that stuff. LL was the first sex symbol rapper. LL was the first rapper to kind of talk about feelings on wax, with I Need Love. He set the stage for Drake and all of those things or whatever. But let's talk about it. And LL was the first rapper really to start a film and TV career. He was in what is the Life with Mikey. I think that's the first movie he did, was a film with Michael J. Fox and Christina Vidal. Shout out to Christina. She was Taina on Nickelodeon. Love Christina. And she was in that. I think might be getting something mixed up with that. But I think that when we talk about influence too, LL gets left out of the conversation a great deal. And I think that as far as his performance, his stage show, the sex symbol, the buffing up, the jewelry, the way that he presented himself and things of that nature, he needs to be included in there. And overall, I think LL is more influential than Future. But I understand that Future is influencing the kids, so kind of doesn't matter what I think about that. I just think that, Forensic Accountant says Bigger and Deffer is a classic album. It is. Pretty Brown Mimi says, as we all know, LL Cool J started the Sexy Love ballad thing. These are facts. We talked about that. Hey Lover, still a classic with them and Boys to Men. The song with him in Total, that is the Jermaine Stewart sample. Who Do You Love? I love it. Still. DJ Black 909 says Bob Johnson should have never sold BET. If he wanted to get into sports, start your own league. Well, have you read Bob Johnson's book, Nephew? Hey, DJ, I'm going to tell you this. I love you. I appreciate you checking in. Don't call me auntie, though. We're going to think of something else. Andy thinks I'm wrong for that. I just don't like it.
Yeah, you're wrong.
But I appreciate you, DJ. Nephew. I'll call you nephew. Just don't call me auntie. Wasn't LL Cool J's first movie Wildcats? Wasn't he just on the soundtrack? I don't know if he was actually acting in the movie. I recall he might have been. It might have just been a thing. No, because Crush Groove would have been before Wildcats. That I do know. That was his first movie. So then if he was in Wildcats, I can't remember what were Wildcats. But his first starring role, like his major role, was in the film with Michael J. Fox. When we come forward, we're going to get into more Fahima's on the line. Okay. I always love to hear from Fahima. Thank you for staying up late. What do you have for us?
What up, Cuz? Kathy ever said that you are entirely too young to be anybody over 18's auntie?
I mean, well, here's the thing. I have a 30-year-old niece, so I can't say that. But
really?
Yes, I have a 30-year-old niece.
Well, I would say good black don't crack.
Girl, listen. Anyway, one day I'll reveal to you. Maybe I'll send you a DM, Fahima, because, I'm a little vintage around this place, but it's cool.
I hear you. Well, I wanted to raise a concern I have. And let me just preface this. As you know, I'm from New York City. I went to high school with both Andre Harrell and T. Sweat.
Okay.
Andre Harrell and I were in homeroom together, and I have an anecdote about Andre Harrell and I, which I will share on another night. I'm sure you know who Tariq Nasheed is.
Yes.
Well, I'm characterizing him as a demagogue who is divisive, and he was not there. He was not around, right? And I would encourage everyone to read Nelson George's book, Hip Hop America, and How Hip Hop Saved the World, narrated by Chuck D. Excellent documentary and book. Now, Tariq Nasheed is posturing that there was nobody involved with the development in hip hop as it came to being in New York City. Because I understand that there was hip hop that with the Watts Prophet on the West Coast, but in New York City, right, hip hop was developed by black people from the Caribbean, Puerto Ricans, and African Americans collectively. It wasn't a situation where, it was just black Americans. We don't rock like that in New York. We don't rock like that in New York. Every summer you have the Puerto Rican Day Parade, the Caribbean Carnival, the African American Parade, the Dominican Parade, and guess what? We attend all of them. We attend all of them.
Time.
Exactly. The dynamics are different on the West Coast. To be honest, I was shocked when I came to D.C. to see divisions between black people and Latino people. Although I will concede that the folks in D.C., many of them are from El Salvador, juxtaposed to Panama, Cuba, and Puerto Rico. But the thing is that there were black kids from the Caribbean, black kids who were Puerto Rican, and African Americans who developed this art form in New York City. And I would just end it with this. Just like in Trinidad, they took empty steel oil drums and created this beautiful instrument called steel pan. Black people's ability to make something out of nothing. And that's how hip-hop came to be. They took the music out of the schools, and they took the records of their parents, and they created this beautiful art form. This person doesn't even know what the elements of hip hop is.
Probably.
He's not from New York. He wasn't born. He wasn't there.
Well, Fahima, hold that thought, because I have something to address with that when we come forward, because that is an amazing point. We'll get into all of that on the other side. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
At City National, we listen to you.
I want to expand my business and my legacy.
I want to set up the next generation for success.
I want to see my vision come to life.
I want to feel right at home. Your goals, passions, vision, future. We want to hear it and work alongside you to achieve it. Visit cnb.com to learn more. City National Bank. Here for our clients and communities.
We're celebrating 1 year of the K. From checking out the vibrant art and diverse dining in Leimert Park to cheering on your favorite team in Inglewood, you can choose your own adventure when you ride the Metro K-Line. Leave the car at home and go Metro. Visit metro.net/K-Line.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition, and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We have Fahima on the line. We were discussing about, the evolution of hip-hop, influence and inspiration. And while I do think that this current generation, it seems so simple because there's so many ways to access the history, but it seems like most people, they go for what's easy, what's put right there in their face to reference. Even though, hip-hop courses are taught in college and all over, and they're documentaries or whatever, we seem to circle kind of the same three areas. But so I feel like gatekeeping is necessary to a certain degree, but at the same time, I also think that gatekeeping slows down growth, and it doesn't allow things to develop in a natural and organic pattern to become something else. Now, granted, we aren't happy or thrilled right now with the state of hip-hop, but I don't know what it means to a 17-year-old right now and what they will evolve as such. And I don't think that it's necessarily my place I might disagree, but to say, nah, that ain't it at all for them because, our parents felt the same.
I'm not saying that. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, can I just list the 5 original elements of hip-hop? Which is lyricism, which is emceeing, DJing, right? Also, you have b-boying, graffiti, and historical knowledge of the movement. That's when hip-hop was conscious. Now, I'm not sitting here and chiding young people because each generation has to determine their destiny, either to fulfill it or betray it. That's transfer not. Okay, and so I have no criticism of today's artists, Lotto, Crazy Red, and all of them. My favorites are, although Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, I love them, and I just want them to continue doing what they're doing. But the thing is, I'm just raising the fact that this man who wasn't there is sitting here putting out this information, and I'm seeing this hateful rhetoric, this divisive rhetoric online, and people don't know what they're talking about. Nelson George wrote a book, Hip Hop America. They just had a documentary that came out early this year. I had my students watch it for extra credit. And it's just absurd. And people who are there, a lot of people who were there aren't saying anything.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that there is... I think I don't know if entitlement is the right word. I think it's just, I feel that in our generation or before, we cared a little bit more about the history of the music. Not everybody, and I don't know if that's attributed to, everybody didn't have their own TV and personal way to listen to things, so we all kind of heard our parents' music, our siblings' music, or whatever, so it was all kind of blended together, and now there's not that type of sharing as far as music and, across the cultures and the ages.
Well, see, I'm not one of these people, Jill, who feels, my era was the best era, and these folks, they don't know what's up. Like, this is a guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but his son wanted him to listen to Drake. And he's, I'm not going to listen to Drake. Drake is not a gangster rapper, and he had a missed opportunity. This man's son wanted to share his music with him. But I don't want you to think that I'm not poo-pooing the young people. They have to do what their generation is doing. They're doing their thing. I'm specifically calling out this dude who is trying to rewrite history and continue as part of his continued effort to create division amongst people.
Facts. ATL Jacob, I always appreciate you, Fahima. You always come with the heat and a new perspective that we love to hear. So thank you for checking in with us tonight. I appreciate it.
All right. Peace.
Thank you. DJ Black so Forensic Accountant says in the chat, we can't discount what the Lockers were doing in LA at the same time hip hop was in its infancy. And that's a great point. If you want to talk about the dance aspect, DJ, my RSVP nephew, wants to know who the Lockers were. So the Lockers are dancers. If you've heard of Fred, Rerun, Barry, from What's Happening, he used to wear the red beret, the suspenders. He was a part of the Lockers. If you've ever seen the movie Breakin' with Turbo and Ozone, Ozone's real rap persona was Shabba-Doo. And he was also a part of the Lockers. They used to dance on Soul Train and a couple of other shows. So they were establishing a dance style. There was some popping with it, but locking was more, jumping up and down, your arms to the side, the little elbow out to the side, little hee-hee. So it's a dance form. Google it and you'll see. But they came up in the 70s. There's also was a woman named Toni Basil that was involved in it. She had a song called Oh Mickey. Oh Mickey, you're so fine. Yeah, I guess it was just called Mickey, but the chorus said Oh Mickey. Anyway, she was a part of that. They were on Soul Train. So big as far as the Los Angeles development, its early development of hip hop, because let's be clear, I'm always going to throw it to the East Coast as far as hip-hop, even though we had some ties and some things here very early, because early West Coast hip-hop was largely electronic-based, We had a lot of, I think they were just called the vocal box back then. It wasn't auto-tune yet. It wasn't developed yet. But a lot of our music was electric, high-pitched. Surprisingly, if it had bass, it was a little different, though. But, is locking battle dancing? I mean, I suppose any kind of dancing could be battle dancing, depending upon who you're facing. But, the early origins of dance, sort of West Coast style, maybe that's something we'll talk about one day. At any rate, I think that it is a forgotten art. I think LL is passed over. I thought that Run DMC is a great reference. And even though I think that we pay homage to them in sorts, I don't know if we're going to get back to a point, unless somehow the 80s become as popular as the 90s are in pop culture. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but you get what I'm saying, that there will be a reverence for those groups and those that came of age in the 80s. Shout out to Forensic Accountant. We did bump the heck out of Egyptian Lover. Egyptian Lover, baby, and Dial Freak. I always talk about that. One of my favorites. Gentile Killer says, Future and Kanye didn't shoot rogue cops in the butt like Tupac did. What's more influential than that? Facts. Shout out to Crazy Legs. You guys are going in. Listen, hour 3, we're going to get more into that. We're also going to talk about Vivica Fox. And she says it's hard to make friends with females as a celebrity. We're also going to get into the interview with Vivica and Tonisha Welch, who is the first lady of BMF in the BET Plus movie. All of that and more on the other side. You were locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Father to your child. You see, I hate when a brother makes a child and then denies it, thinking that money is the answer, so he buys it. A whole bunch of gifts and a lot of presents. It's not the presence, it's your presence and the essence of being there and showing the baby that you care. Stop sitting like a chair and have your baby wondering where you are or who you are. Fool your eyes, daddy. Don't act like you ain't, cause that really makes me mad, G. To see a mother and a baby suffer. I had enough of brothers.